So in my Friday the 13th video, I mentioned how I would not be talking about Freddy vs. Jason in that video, mainly because I consider that to be a crossover film between two franchises. And for that video specifically, I wanted to focus more on main installments of the series, not so much on crossovers. But today we are going to talk about Freddy vs. Jason, so let's get to it. So right off the bat, this film was considered to be one of the most anticipated crossover films at the time, mainly because it was going to be the clash of the most two iconic killers of the 80s, Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees. We haven't really seen that many crossover films at the time. I mean, we saw Frankenstein vs. Dracula, and we also saw Godzilla vs. King Kong, but we've never really gotten a modern take on the crossover genre. And with putting Freddy Krueger and Jason as the main candidates for like a type of movie like this was the perfect idea. So the plot revolves around Freddy Krueger, who's been stuck in hell, mainly because people have forgotten about him entirely. I mean, the people of Springwood, they just don't dream about him anymore, or they've forgotten about him entirely. And the people that do know about Freddy, they've been quarantined in a psychiatric hospital. That way, he wouldn't be spread. The word about Freddy wouldn't be spread. So you could say that they're treating Freddy more like kind of like an epidemic, just trying to keep it contained. So Freddy Krueger comes up with a plan that in order for the people to start remembering him again, he needs to find a scapegoat that can start doing a bunch of kills. That way they can start assuming that Freddy's back. And who does he pick to do this little errand for him? Well, he gets none other than Jason Voorhees, who's still stuck in hell after part 9. But obviously Jason, he's not gonna do just a favor for just anybody. So Freddy ends up just talking to Jason disguised as his mother, telling him that he should wake up and go to Elm Street, which he does. So after Jason gets a couple of his kills in, little by little Freddy starts to regain his power back because everybody starts to suspect that he's the one that's behind all these kills. But obviously you can't stop Jason. The minute you wake him up, you can't stop him, not even Freddy. So that's when he starts getting a bit fed up with him overdoing it a bit, which leads to their confrontation. So as far as the main plot goes, we're introduced to Laurie and her friends. They are the ones that start to uncover what's really going on here between these two killers. So after one of their friends gets killed, they start getting questioned by the police, and they start to slowly realize who might be the one behind all of this, which obviously it's not Freddy, it's Jason, but they start assuming that it's Freddy by the conversations they start hearing from the sheriffs and everything. So the night after one of their friends gets killed, they decide to just go to a rave and just try to get their mind off of things. But Jason ends up following them, and he does another little killing spree in the rave. And it was a pretty well done scene. I mean, Jason, he gets lit up on fire, but regardless, you can see that's not effective to him at all. And he just starts stabbing teenagers from left to right like nothing. He even gets beer on his face. I mean, damn. Jason got turned, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, because they clearly saw that the killer was not Freddy Krueger, they saw it was somebody else, they slowly start to realize that there's more to the story than what the police are actually saying. And honestly, it's gonna sound a little bit silly, but they're basically the Scooby-Doo gang of this film. Because they even have a van and they're all going together and they're just trying to uncover the mystery of what's really going on. And they know that there's two killers now. There's Freddy Krueger, that he's, slowly coming back in the dreams. And there's also this other killer in the real world, running wild. So basically their plan is to get Jason back to Crystal Lake and get Freddy out of the dream world. That way they can both finish each other off over there. That way it wouldn't be their problem anymore. They're basically just trying to wash it off. And that's pretty much it. But honestly, I think it's a pretty well driven plot. I mean, it makes sense that these kids they don't know anything about Jason, and they start to uncover the truth of what's going on. And at the same time, they want to put an end to Freddy once and for all. So as far as the plot goes, I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's pretty well written. So as far as the characters go, unlike, the traditional slasher film that the characters don't really have a lot of character development, you could say. But in this movie, the main characters, at least a couple of them, they do have some sort of backstory that pertains to the main plot of the story. I mean, Laurie, she lives in the original house from Elm Street. Not to mention the fact that her mother was actually killed by Freddy, but she was actually lied to that she died in a car accident. And her boyfriend Will, who he thought he saw, the dad killing the mom, he was actually trying to kill Freddy from killing his mom. Which is the reason why we find out that Will was actually sent to the psychiatric hospital. The dad sent him there. Will's friend Mark, the reason why he's in the psychiatric hospital is because his brother had been killed by Freddy Krueger. So obviously that's a memory that he will never let go of. So he was put into the psychiatric hospital along with anybody that has any sort of knowledge about Freddy. And in a way, it's kind of messed up for the city of Springwood to treat the people like animals, keeping them quarantined, because I mean, it's not their fault that they went through traumatic experiences with Krueger, or they know a little bit about him, that they have to be treated this way. But in a way, it kind of makes sense because they're trying to contain the whole thing about Freddy. Kind of like I said, kind of like a virus. They're trying to just keep it, from spreading throughout the city. And it's not like they just lock them up so they can keep dreaming in there. They give them the drugs so they can stop dreaming themselves. One thing I noticed that was kind of interesting, I don't know if I'm the only one that noticed it, but it was between Laurie and Jason. So in one of the scenes where Laurie's in the dream sequence with Jason, where she's actually trying to help Jason from drowning, I mean, obviously Freddy, he gets in the way and he, pushes Jason more down into the lake, drowning him. But then later on in the film, towards the end, where Freddy is about to kill Laurie and Will, Jason comes out of nowhere and he stabs Freddy with his own arm and he falls into the water. So after Laurie, she chops off Freddy's head and his corpse lands in the water, you see Jason that he's just looking at Laurie, he's looking at her, and he slowly starts coming back down to the water where he belongs. I mean, he could have easily come back up and killed them, but I feel like in a way he kind of knew that she tried to help him out. So in a way it was kind of like a little bit of a, I mean, I see it as maybe he was just trying to return the favor, like since she tried to help him in the dreams, he tried to help them out by, killing Fred. So I don't know, I thought that was something a little interesting that I noticed. As far as the fight goes, I feel like this fight overall, it consists of 3 rounds. The first round being in the dream sequence where Freddy obviously has the upper hand, that's what he's best at. The second run was when they finally bring Freddy back into the real world, and that's when, Jason has the upper hand because he's bigger and stronger. And the final round, which is the climax of the film, where they're both all covered in blood and they're both stabbing each other. I mean, Jason impales Freddy with his arm. Freddy, he stabs Jason in the eyes, so that's the final round where they're both covered in blood. And it eventually leads with Laurie and Will getting in the way and ending the fight, and I really don't want to spoil it for people who really have not seen this film, so that's why I'm just giving snippets of it. Now, the things that I did not like about this film, it's 2 minor things and they both have to do with Jason. Number 1, it's that they added this whole thing that Jason has a weakness now, that being water, because he drowned. So in the previous films, we never saw that trait of Jason that he's scared of water. We've never really seen that. So I thought it was odd in the dream sequence that they start pouring water on him in the boiler room and he starts shaking to the point that he's a little kid again. I mean, that didn't make sense to me, and I feel like they tried making him look like a victim too much. So I don't know, I feel like that was a little bit off of Jason's character, at least the way I see it. And the second thing, which is the main thing that I did not like about this film, is that they did not bring back Kane Hodder as Jason. So before this movie even came out, Kane Hodder had played Jason 4 times at A New Blood, Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason Goes to Hell, and Jason X. So it was expected for him to return as Jason Voorhees for this film. He even got the script and everything, but ultimately they gave the role to somebody else, and it was kind of disappointing. I mean, as a kid, I did not know about it. I thought it was the same actor, and I was so excited to see him again, but as I got older and I saw more research, I came to find out that he was actually recasted, so it was very unfortunate. Even you can see interviews of Kane Hodder saying that he was really wanting that role. He knew that nobody else knows the role better than him. Obviously, I gotta give credit to the other actors before him that played Jason. Without a doubt, they did a good job as well. But Kane Hodder, he got to know his character. After 4 films, he knew what was the right movements as Jason and everything. But mind you, I'm not throwing shade at Ken Kirzinger either, because he played a phenomenal Jason in Freddy vs. Jason 2. Not to mention the fact that I really do like Jason's design in this film a hell of a lot more than the one from Part 9. But yeah, nonetheless, I still wish it could have brought back Kane. It's very unfortunate that they swept him off like that. And a lot of people say that it was New Line Cinema, that they were the ones that made the choice. Others say it was the director. Who knows? But hey, it's good to see nowadays at conventions you get to see Kane Hodder and Robert Englund, Freddy, doing conventions together. So it's kind of cool seeing that they're friends actually in real life. So in a way, it's not too bad now, but still, I wish he was in the movie. One thing that we can't forget about this film is Robert Englund himself. This film is considered to be his final performance as Freddy Krueger, and he went out with a bang. I mean, obviously in the other films he played a fantastic role as Freddy, but for this last film I think he did a fantastic job. I mean, I've always considered Freddy, terrifying yet very funny, you could say, about the things he says. And I've always enjoyed Freddy's charisma, unlike the other killers that are completely silent. But yeah, my hat's off to Robert Englund for playing a fantastic role, and I really do hope that he one day comes back again. But that's just wishful thinking. But yeah, that is my overview of Freddy vs. Jason. But like I said, this film was one of the most anticipating films of the time. A lot of people have been wanting this film since the 90s, and they finally got it in 2003. And even to this day, a lot of people still enjoy this movie. I mean, I do. I still have that slight bit of hope that they might make a Freddy vs. Jason 2, or you know what, even a Michael vs. Jason. I would honestly prefer if they made a Michael vs. Jason, because they're both silent killers. So I'd be very curious to see how that would play out, But yeah, that's my overall take on Freddy vs. Jason. If you love gore, then I definitely suggest you check out this film. I hope you're all having a fantastic, fantastic Friday, or Saturday, or Sunday, or whatever day you may be watching this. But nonetheless, hope you're having a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.